Welcome back to another episode of Find the Line, presented by Against the Grain Design and Print, where we dive into real stories with real racers, the successes, the hardships, and everything in between, with your co-hosts Logan Cipala and Joe Falde. Produced by Luke Cipala, it all starts right here, right now, on Find the Line.
Yeah, and we can do anything. Mama said it's true, and I put that on everything. Mama told me one day I'ma blow up big and I'ma be a king. And my papa told me it's okay to sit where shit hurts. Don't forget your dreams, cause they'll get you through this so-called life they call living.
All right, my Find the Line homies. Time for another two-wheel journey. This week, young man that has put an unbelievable positive stamp on our sport. I hope we can learn some lessons this week, maybe a little bit about how to promote and showcase the sport we love so much. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Motoclimb, Mr. Matt Musgrove. Matt, how's it going?
It's going well. Thanks for having me on, guys. And I've been enjoying the podcast. I just listened to the Tobin Miller one and have the Jack Mackey one saved. So I'm going to listen to that one soon. But the Tobin one, I listened to it on the way to the Keystone Challenge and really enjoyed it. So great job with this whole production.
Can you believe the CR250 story, or did you know it before?
Oh, I saw it in person. The kid is such a savage, and I don't know. You Midwesterners are built different, because that didn't even faze him racing, and he rips. So it wasn't like he was just struggling on a CR250. He was like passing people on an old two-stroke.
But like, how hard enduro is it for someone to just grenade a magneto cover and be like, oh, it's no big deal, we'll just taper up?
Yeah, exactly.
And that's after you Dukes of Hazzard your Dakota.
Yeah, they're built different. They're really good people, and I'm glad you guys got to talk to him and hear some of his experiences.
I'm so excited to listen after he gets back from Europe. I mean, what an experience for him and Matt to go over to Europe. That's going to be incredible.
Yeah, no kidding. Matt knows the Romaniacs system pretty well, and it's going to be very special for Tobin to get that experience. And his mind's going to get blown. I mean, I'm really happy for him, and I think he's going to be training quite a bit this summer for it.
That's cool. Well, Matt, on my little cheat notes here that I got, we were talking, but just some of the topics today that we want to talk to you. Motoclimb, fabricating, promoting, frickin' Pogues Hole, Europe, Bay City, Brick Mine, all this stuff, all tonight, all on this episode. But before all that, I just want to find out, was little tiny Maddie on a P-dub ever when you were little? Or did you have any experiences on two wheels when you were a little grom?
Nothing until I was like 11.
Okay.
My dad kind of grew up riding, and then he kind of got the family riding. I have 3 siblings, and he kind of we reached a point where he kind of got us back. He got back into riding, and we started going out to Carnegie. And I remember the first place I rode was Frank Rains on an old Trail 70, and I remember like the little berm. I crashed off into the fence a bit and everything. So, but. Yeah, those memories are imprinted in my brain of just being around bikes as a younger kid. And then we would start getting more into it and going on the weekends and have friends kind of going. We weren't ever serious or ever raced or anything, but it was more like a leisurely thing. My sister, brother, and both brothers and I would all go out. And that probably lasted for a few years until high school when I could drive. I my summer job at the lake, I saved up for a CRF 450, and that was my first dirt bike on my own. So it was,
let's go.
That's how it started.
Well, I mean, the thing is
right off the bat.
Yeah, no kidding. You don't go anywhere but the top shelf right away, do you?
No, it was an 02 CRF 450, and I got it, and it was used and everything, and then a couple years later, I straight traded it for a CR250, which was the best idea ever. Because when I got on the CR250, I was like, "Whoa, I don't know how to ride." Like it taught me I had to relearn how to ride a dirt bike going to a two-stroke, and so it was a lot of good experiences there. But this all kind of happened. A little backstory here: during high school, I didn't really play sports or whatnot. did some martial arts and with my brother, but it was bass fishing that consumed all of my time. My buddies and I were always at the local ponds, and I joined a bass club in the valley, and was with a bunch of old guys and go to the lake at 4 a.m. type stuff in high school. And so I was super into it. And when these local lakes that are right next to me, we used to go float tubing out there all the time. And they closed for a couple of years because the environmentalists out here thought there were salmon running through it. So they closed for a couple of years. And so that's when I got the dirt bike. It kind of lined up to where I got my own. And I then, if it wasn't for those lakes closing, I probably wouldn't be here right now.
For those of you that don't know you, whereabouts was this? Where did you grow up? Where was little Matt running around at, kicking dirt and catching bass?
San Francisco Bay Area. So I'm like about 45 minutes to an hour east of San Francisco.
Okay, nice. Are you still in that area then, Matt? Is that where you call
still
home?
All of our family's here, and Bree's from out here as well. So we're kind of just, great weather, and it's expensive, but there's good people and family. It's just hard to leave family.
We have friends in Pacifica, and it's hard to leave. I hear about it all the time that they want to move back to Wisconsin, but just tough to leave that area. It's pretty nice. Yeah,
Pacifica is super nice. We love the Taco Bell beach and all that. The beaches out there are incredible. Weather's perfect. It's amazing.
Cool. I kind of missed out because I was hoping that you rode when you were a little kid, because lately everybody wants to hear what you ran into when you were a little Grom. But it sounds like a fence. Was that the first thing you ran into when you got on that 70 trail?
I think it was a fence. It was just
so we got Luke as a brick wall. I ran into the milk house. What were you, Logan?
I don't know what I ran into. We lived in town, so I might have escaped. I wasn't going real fast, so I might have escaped any danger.
I'll have to check into Todd. You probably wrecked the garage door or something.
Yeah, I could have.
Josh Mueller messaged that he ran into his dad's propane tank. So we're not alone. It happens.
Yeah, it does.
So the bike that you got after that you traded the 450 for, you said it was a CR250. Is that the infamous one with all the different graphics and paint schemes that you used to have?
Yeah, that's the same bike. And so I still have that bike to this day. I don't think I can ever get rid of it. And so it needs a little love, but it just kind of sits in the corner right now. But it's actually the bike that when the Frenchies were here back in April, I just, for the stock class, I had my 300 and I just brought that thing. I was like, you guys just ride whatever. I don't care at this point. And I was doing something in the pits and I just hear a whoa, and I look behind me and there's this black and tan CR250 ripping over the hill, and they got like a top 15 or something. They're like, man, this 300 sucks. This 250 is the way. I'm like, yeah, it's pipey and it has a hard tire. Like, so you probably did better on it. So it's pretty good.
That's awesome.
There was some rumors around there at one point that you were fourth beer pinned. Is there a sissy bar on this 250?
No,
because rumor was that fourth beer pin had a sissy bar on his dirt bike. So I didn't know if that maybe because I'm trying to figure out who it is. I thought it was Doris Waddell for a while. Then I was thinking it might be you. I'm going to figure it out one of these days.
I don't think the Frenchies would have jumped on it if they had a sissy bar. So.
I don't know. You don't know. They're crazy. I don't know. They'd ride anything. If it's got a clutch and a throttle, I think they'd go for it.
That's true.
I think Matt's way too classy to be fourth beer pinned. That would be the ultimate switch up if the least classy person you've ever seen on the internet is the most classy guy you've ever met in real life.
But wouldn't that be like the perfect outlet? That's how he gets.
Trust me, I think about it all the time. In my next life, I'm going to be a memer, and it's going to be what I'll consume in my life.
That's great. So bass fishing went away. Do you still fish at all, Matt?
Once or twice a year, whenever I get the chance. Heavy Wrenchins invited me out countless times, and I'd love to go out with him one time or one of these days. It's just finding a weekend to get out. And but a couple times a year, I still have all my stuff, and once I get back into it, it just takes a few minutes to get back into skipping frogs and pitching weird lures into crazy corners and whatnot. But it's I love it. It's super fun. I saw you were at a bass tournament, all kitted up in your custom jersey and whatnot.
Oh yeah, no, it's a really big deal. It's a 4-boat tournament. We have enough just for the podium. But we were throwing frogs, spinners, topwaters, bangers. Oh, it was awesome. Yeah. We won the tournament. The last 20 minutes, we caught 4 bass and a northern in 20 minutes, and you had to be back to the dock at 3. And we were across the lake in our little crappy John boat with the 25 horse motor. And I hooked a bass in the scum and I'm trying to drag it in. And literally my buddy dipped it with the net. I flipped the motor to wide open full and he just like hauled all the way across and like barreled into the dock with the fish in the net and just shit everywhere. It was awesome. It was the most adrenaline I've ever had fishing. It was epic.
Yeah, no, that's how it goes. It sounds like a fun tournament. And Luke, you've filmed professional tournaments before, right?
Yeah, a couple. It was for St. Jude back in the day, a couple years ago. Right. But it's I can't believe how serious it is. And like when I was there, one of the boats was for sale, or like had a for sale sign. I was like, what? Like I thought they misplaced a comma. Like it was insane. And I think that's just normal. And it's like it's really, really serious and competitive. I had no idea it was that big of a deal.
Yeah, the sponsorships and the amount of media that they put out, it's really inspiring to see what they've done in the outdoor world with that. And it's really a really cool model. And so I still keep track of it here and there, the bass, series. And those guys are studs. It's not an easy job.
I love their gamesmanship. They roll in here for Pool 2 in the Mississippi and they'll have their tournament. And they'll come in and, they'd like take the little town over. You'll see all these $200,000 boats parked all around Ellsworth. Well, apparently what they do is they come in, they have like scouts that come in ahead and they buy all the live bait in the area. So like if you want live bait, you got to like drive like a long damn ways. And I guess it's like a thing like that they do to take over the tournament. So like they can control the aspect of it. It's just wild. I mean, I love the gamesmanship of that.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting strategy and it's crazy the amount of money they spend and they can make. So it's a combination of both. It's just like any professional sport, the majority of them are just like, throwing away money and not making much in return. Right. But, those top few are rock stars. They're huge, making huge bucks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Ted Takasaki and the big dudes. Those are the only ones.
Kevin Van Dam is set for life. Like these guys, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Sidetracked as always. Sorry. But, it's good to have a couple different hobbies, isn't it? It can't be single focused. Even frickin' the machine, it picks up a golf club every now and then.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't gotten into golf yet, but I think every man at some point, it seems like they have to hit the golf part of their life, chapter of their life.
I don't want to get canceled, but there's a super funny video with Kid Rock on Insta. I'm going to send you about golf. It is so dang. It's Logan exactly how he felt about golf. It was the stupidest thing ever, and then now he just loves it. It's like you got to get to a certain age. You're too young, Matt. You're just too young. When you get a little older, you start to appreciate it.
One of these days. I do about the bass stuff. I tell myself I'll get a bass boat when I'm 50 if I can. So
awesome.
Like that's my target. I'll join Pro Masters when I'm 40. When I'm 50, I'll retire from Pro Masters and get a bass boat.
I mean, these are goals a guy can get behind. That's awesome. So just growing up, you said your dad had rode some did he still ride, or was he riding when you were young, or?
No, he rode with us kids. He rode when he was younger. It's just kind of in our blood a little bit, not much, but it's not like he raced or did anything competitive. It was just kind of, my grandpa was a hunter and they used to go riding here and there and stuff. So
cool.
He doesn't really ride this much anymore. And they'll come out to the Hillclimbs once in a while. They'll, pick a few events to go out to and watch and spectate, but they're really not involved much beyond that. They kind of let me do my thing and support when they can. And yeah, it's kind of cool. Like my entire family is kind of foreign to it with the racing world.
Right.
And whenever they come to the races, they're kind of, nobody knows them, which is kind of fun to,
Right.
it's like, I have my brother or sister show up and introduce them to people and they don't know.
Right.
But they're all supportive. My sister's kids, are starting to ride now. So Austin actually built him a track last month and
Sweet.
in my sister's backyard. And she has a really cool ranchette. And my little nephew is riding Josh Mazakis' Electron Co. e-bike electric, like 50. And
Cool.
so we got one of those for him and he's been riding it. And brother-in-law is starting to ride Saran a little bit. So it's starting to, we'll see with the new generation, how it goes.
Very cool. I mean, that kind of makes sense because years ago, when I first got to get to know you, and I thought you just had like a completely different attitude, like your mindset, and not coming from a racing family where that's all you knew. You asked a few questions that needed to be asked and were very interesting. And I think you had like a really fresh mantra to what you were trying to do and to promote, our sport and to push it. And it kind of makes sense that you were looking at it with these big eyes because you weren't singular focused on what your dad exactly had taught you your entire life about racing or bikes or anything, So that's kind of neat that you just had to kind of learn it all, at some point, like Logan's grandpa, one of the best mechanics ever, just had to figure it out. Right. So it's like, Kirk Mueller, I remember when I met him, I was like, "Oh, is your dad a mechanic?" No, he's like, I fix his, he's an electrician. It's like, I just think that's cool. Like those people have to learn every aspect of it because they just didn't come in the tail of anybody to do it. So that kind of gives you a different impression of what you're going to experience, I guess.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I didn't come into the promoting or, the what we're doing, where we're at now, without any knowledge of things. I grew up loving just X Games and watching Fuel TV and obsessed with action sports. Huge fan of Supercross growing up and, remember vividly Travis's double backflip and watching that on TV. And so I was obsessed with action sports, obsessed with, snowboarding and all types of extreme sports. And, I love the filming aspect as well. I always really loved how they captured things. Dust to Glory, that Baja movie is always something that's embedded in my mind as, showing the storyline of these athletes and showing the landscapes and the amazing machines. And so, there's a few films and I just loved learning about the athletes and stuff. And I kind of early on realized, hey, I'm never going to be like a pro level. I don't have the talent nor the like drive to be, to the level of being or striving to be a pro or anything. So I figured I do love capturing things. And so I figured taking photos or being on the promoting side would be more up my alley.
It's killer. I mean, with Luke and yourself, that's what's so interesting is the art of it, right? Like capturing like that adrenaline with your lens. Everybody has a different interpretation of it. Mm-hmm. And it's so fun seeing like what you have done and are doing, what Luke does and captures. And, Luke's filming freaking farms and I'm watching his clips of it and I'm like, this is Luke Palmer's freaking intro to Bay City. Luke's got that racer's eye. I just love how they capturing things. It's so neat. And I could see how that could get addicting,
Yeah, no, it is. It's kind of like your guys' racing. There's always something to improve upon. You're like never satisfied with, your last performance. And so you're always looking forward to the next thing. And I guess I don't consider myself a creative, but I guess I am, there's always imperfections and always ways to improve. And you get also like inspired. I love getting inspired and consuming other people's work that is beyond mine to kind of take ideas from.
So before it was Motoclimb, when it was Hillclimb, what was your first introduction? Was it Carnegie or was it Austin Tyler or what actually was your first sample that you're like, ooh, what's this?
So I remember going to a Carnegie Hillclimb probably when I was like 5 to 7 years old. I barely remember it. I remember my dad taking us.
Cool.
So it must have been like the late 90s at that rate.
Okay.
That's about, like I said, I don't remember much of it, but it like was in my head at least that this exists and it was something cool. So what got this all started was in 2010. I was first year of college, Cal State East Bay in Hayward.
Nice.
And first day of school, first class of the morning. Only the only seat available was next to Shane Speed. And,
I've heard the story. I love it. I can't wait to hear it.
And Cal State East Bay in Hayward is like kind of in the cities. And so you could tell just by profiling who rides dirt bikes. And there was about 2.5 people had been told to college who rode dirt bikes. So Shane and I clearly hit it off. We're like, oh, you're right. Cause I was starting to ride more with my buddies and he obviously was really into riding with his family. And we just hit it off. We're inseparable those days. And then he ended up not going too much further than a year in college and started working. And he still lived in the town that the college was at. So we would hang out all the time. I would always be at his house, always hanging out with his family, wrenching on stuff. I think we started building our first 636 open bike together like 2012 or so in his backyard. And then it ended up at my house and we started, I remember that thing sitting underneath the deck of my parents' house and just like in the driveway, just in this weird fixture and just trying to figure out how to build it. I bought my buddy's old CR 125 frame, 96 CR 125 frame, cut the bottom frame rails off, and we were figuring out how to get this thing on. And so now that I'm thinking about it, that was probably 2011 when I started it with Shane. And we got it good enough to bring to the Widowmaker in 2012.
Oh,
and
man.
I raced the amateur hill climb side, the amateur hill in the Widowmaker.
Wow.
I drove out there with Bubba, his brother, and we took a caravan with Bubba, Shaner, Petey, and Pete Senior, and we all went to the Widowmaker together and in the summer. And I raced the amateur class, and I still have the GoPro footage somewhere. And it was the most squiddiest, worst ride. Not only the bike just sucked, but the bike was running terrible, and I can't believe I even made it over the hill. But and the amateur hill was really nothing, but for me it was like, you're on an open bike and you built it yourself. It was cool.
That's awesome.
That was such a fun event because I remember hitting the whole shot. You remember the whole shot box there, Logan?
Yeah.
It's just like a big dust pit pretty much.
Yep.
And I remember I was wearing shorts, ripping hole shots, getting probably a little too cocky, and the thing was getting hot, and a water hose blew off on my my legs, and I just got steamed.
Oh,
but
man.
It was such a memorable event. Like I remember Travis Seitz on his Hayabusa, just in that whole shot box, and seeing probably a half ton of dirt just going 50 feet away. Just
he won it. He won it that year too, I think, didn't he?
He might have won one of the classes. I know Petey won that year going over the hill. Cool. And I brought a little camcorder out and I filmed his run. And I remember on Facebook, it went viral when I posted it in like 2016, 2017 or something.
Yep.
But like years later, I posted it. But Petey went over on the Bandito, and it was just such a cool hill. Like I have old footage of Pete Senior and the Whitlocks going over Moe's Hill and all that stuff. And wow. I think I had GoPro footage of Bubba or Shaner going up the big hill and not making it 850 feet or something. So I was kind of already in the media, like how could we capture this? How can I return my value for them bringing me? And I remember that trip, I first met Austin. We were all staying at one of the hotels, swimming in the pool. Everyone was just swimming in the pool with Petey and Speeds and stuff. And I met Austin there, and it was just like little kid. He doesn't remember me meeting me, obviously, because he meets everybody. But I just remember meeting him, and that was my first interaction with Austin. So it was, it was kind of a crazy time in 2010 to 2014. Just like always spending time at the speeds, wrenching on stuff, learning as much as we can. I would weld up their heads on their KX 500s, just like all the way shut. So they were just trying to get as much compression as possible out of them. And they're such an amazing family because of how smart they are with those Cowies and Chevy, old Chevy trucks. Like that family, I have a lot of respect for them. So I think the speeds are the reason we're all having this conversation. So.
That's cool. And when we talk to Shane, we're going to have to do a check, because I just have a hunch here, Matt. And I'm thinking, I call it a quad check. Like if I'm on a job site and I see a guy with like a Fox hat, I got to go find out if it's because he rides a quad or is he on a dirt bike, So you go up and be like, oh, what kind of bike you got? And that's not good enough, because they'll call their quad a bike, but then you got to ask them again, like, exactly what it is. And then that determines whether I'm going to hold the door open for them when they come in or not, So Luke, write that down when we talk to Shane. We got to find out if he was originally going for a quad check with Matt.
That's good.
Got it.
Man, what a story.
Another, just like I was telling Bree the other day, just like the speeds, they lived in kind of the suburbs of Hayward, and they had a pretty decent sized lot and stuff, but they would all do their wrenching out stuff. But they had this whole shop box between their garage and their fence. And Logan, you probably remember seeing old videos on social media. It was probably 3.5 feet wide, just like maybe your bars plus 6 inches on each side. And they would rip like 75-foot hole shots on open bikes next to their neighbor's house in the middle of the suburbs.
Every neighbor knew the Speed family then.
No helmet, front wheel, like 10 o'clock. And then get that thing down, slam the brake. Yeah, it runs good, So
that's awesome.
They're wild. It was fun. We worked on the 650 with them, the 500s, the FJ, the 1000, the 600. It was always a project going on there. So I learned a lot from them and inspired a lot by them. And it's so fun to see Shaner at the races and Mark at Carnegie these days, because Shane has his wife and kids, and it's full circle thing. And and he's still one of the most entertaining riders for me to watch. Whenever he's on the line, I stop what I'm doing to watch. I used to ride with him a lot, trail ride with him a lot, and I would just be blown away the things he would do, because he's just like he could probably be a football player. He's pretty large and not like unfit or anything. The guy's like strong. He's tall and big framed, and the way he can handle an open bike and any dirt bike amazes me. So he's really fun to watch. Man, and he doesn't let off the throttle. Like
never.
Like clutch every run almost.
When you were at the pool, when you met Austin, most Hillclimb pools that I've been to, did anybody ever run off the roof to jump in the pool, or jump off of a balcony into the pool, or maybe get everybody else kicked out? Was there any events like that?
I don't think so. I barely remember. It was just an indoor pool, so I don't know if it was a Best Western or something. But
right.
Yeah, if Todd was there, I'm sure something happened.
Yeah, I remember as a kid being young. My brother was 6 years older than me, and we saved up the money to go stay in the Hillclimb Hotel at Nationals in Kentucky. We weren't camping, and I'm laying there, and I heard boom, 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 into the pool. And my brother gets up. My mom's like, "Don't you even think about leaving this room." And it was like Scott Fryer and Logan's grandpa and a bunch of those guys just raising hell out there. I think they lost somebody that night, and they had to find them like the next day. It was chaos, So every time I hear pool and Hillclimb, that's what I think of.
Yeah, it's when everyone can let loose and have fun. It's
Yep. You also mentioned welding. When did this become a part of your life? Is your family? Is fabricating and welding? Is that something that you learned at a young age, or?
fabricating with the family business, and was so I was born into that type of world. And then, that my dad taught me how to weld and started welding more with some friends and kind of learning on my own. I also took classes at the local community college and doing just projects like machining and doing personal things, learned a lot. So also worked at the shop for years. And so, after hours, I would go there and work on projects or whatnot. So kind of just learned from experience and, initially from my dad, though.
Good on your dad teaching you a skill like that. I mean, damn, that's like you can take that to your grave with you. I mean, that always comes in handy, doesn't it?
Oh, big time. Yeah. It's a great career choice. And maybe I should have done that instead of all that.
No. What does your dad fabricate, or what do they do? What kind of place is it?
It was it was a lot of, because we're near the Silicon Valley, so there was a lot of aerospace and semiconductor work or defense work, and so there were CNC machines, and there is high-end CNC welders, whether it's laser or electron beam welding. And I was an electron beam welder for part of my time there, and then they would manual TIG welding was like not what they mainly did. It was kind of everyone just if you needed to do it, they would do it. But it was a lot of machine work or CNC work, like
part replication and stuff like that.
Yeah, there was some productions and there was some one-off stuff. Some things are currently in space, circulating around the sun and in orbit. Wow. And so there's been a lot of cool projects that came out of the shop. And it was really cool to work there when I did.
Good on your dad for teaching you that stuff, because it's not easy as a parent. Like, it's the hardest thing in the world is to teach your kids anything because they don't want to listen. I'm sure little Matt knew everything and didn't want to listen to his dad, right? So it's like, good on your dad for giving you those skills. And freaking Tristan's got an open bike because of you. It's like it just keeps going on and on. Your skills.
It's cool.
Yeah,
it's cool. It's I kind of growing up was always obsessed with one thing, and I became like obsessed with it for a year or two and moved on to the next thing, whether it was like zoo animals or scuba diving or whatever it was. Yeah, bass fishing. I always became obsessed and then moved on to the next thing. And so him passing on welding, it stuck, and it's good.
Very cool. So what an unbelievable introduction into Hillclimb. Sitting next to Shane, just an icon, and then you get to go to the Widowmaker with the people that you named off. Wow. I mean, that's like this is the origin story of a very good Marvel movie right now. We're about ready to find out when you got bit by the radioactive spider here pretty quick here.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. Pretty amazing.
Do you remember any Midwestern guys at the Widowmaker with no front fenders on their bikes or not?
No. I remember Mel Kimball had an older looking bike.
Yeah,
but I had a front fender. But was that you?
Me, Dad, Kirk might have been out there around that time. I can't remember if he was going or not, because the last couple of years it was just us.
The second to last year I went. I didn't go in 2013.
Okay,
that was last year.
So I'm pretty sure that was just my dad and I, and then maybe my buddy Steven. I think he came the second to last year.
Okay.
But the crew had dwindled down by that time, but we were out there.
Yeah.
Can't believe you can't remember the Harley.
I probably, it might be on video somewhere. If I can really dig back into the archives, it might still be. I think I saved some of those videos and I'll have to look. I remember meeting Joe Shipman. I think that was one of the first times I met Joe at that race, because I would see him at the Carnegie races, but actually hanging out and meeting with him.
Yeah.
And back then they probably didn't remember me at all. But once we started doing the Carnegie stuff,
Well, like back then, between the 3 or 4 classes that they had, there was probably 200 entries or 250 entries for the weekend or more. There. Actually, it was probably way more than 250. I bet you it was like 350. But
yeah, they were pulling big numbers back then.
Yeah, it was crazy.
When you were at Widowmaker, you said you were doing some filming, and you were like, I like how you said like you wanted to like try to give back for the opportunity to go out there. Is that what kind of got you into the filming? And then when you came back, did you keep filming? And is that what kind of got you into that aspect of it?
Photography was actually one of my weird obsessions as a kid. And so I remember holding a pro camera. My dad's friends had a pro camera, and I held it up at Fleet Week with the Blue Angels, and I was like just obsessed. And so like photography magazines and just like learning how to take pictures and stuff, probably, I don't know, 10, 11 at that point, 12. And so I became obsessed with that, and then took a big break. And then I think with the dirt bikes, I started getting back into it.
Okay.
I remember there was probably a 5-6 year break where I didn't really pick up a camera. In the 2016 Big Nasty, when I went there on my own, I brought my camera, and that was like really eye opening for me, because I was
wow.
oh, this is a need. This is like almost a need for the guys. Like they don't have much of this.
Right. Yeah. No.
You had some cool footage from that one too. I remember some of those like viral YouTube videos or Instagram
Yeah,
videos that
yeah.
you'd gotten from there. They were pretty awesome.
Yeah, that was a fun one.
When did you, so this is, you're between 2012, 2016, we're talking or whatever. When did you start with Motoclimb Nation, or is that what you did start with? When did you start mixing social media, and was that later, or was that about this time, or when did all kind of that start up?
I actually didn't have social media until after our first event. So 2015, summer 2015, late 2015.
Okay.
I started getting on Facebook and then Instagram, and that's when I started. I kind of started late, later than others that had bigger pages, but yeah, we had our first event earlier in May, 10 years ago, 10 years ago now.
Yeah. Wow.
May 2015.
Probably seems like a long time to you, but for an old man like me, that's like a very small time frame. That's pretty incredible how much you've done.
So since you brought up your first race, let's fill us in on how and when Elevated Action Sports came to be too.
Yeah, it was between, Kyle Speed, Shane's brother, and I. We wanted to do a Carnegie race, and we saw that there were some things that could be done differently that the Horns weren't really necessarily doing. And I didn't really know the Horns well. And at that point, so we kind of went into it as the new kids, and state gave us a permit. We put on the Golden State National in 2015, first weekend of May, and that was a Rockwell Pro Hillclimb Series event. And the first time Rockwell went to California for that. And, in short, it was the race went well, but internally it didn't go super well. So there was a rift between Kyle and I, and we shared the LLC together, but all said and done, in that summer, I took the LLC and he let go of his part, voluntarily. And I didn't know what to do with Elevated Action Sports. Figured that the hill climb went pretty well, the race. It was crazy. Like we brought it. Bubba was running Facebook, getting traction on social media with Instagram and Facebook. And we made commercials for Supercross, local Supercross broadcasts. So I asked Kevin Newman or Petey or John Wolfson, they, chipped in $300 to pay for a filmer to go film them. And we got them. I was at the local Comcast building and getting them on Comcast, so we learned a lot. And, the race, it was what it was, but we parted ways. And then that summer, I just didn't really know what to do. I was working and just kind of trying to figure out. And then the local motocross scene, there was a local motocross series that came up, and I started taking pictures of that one, actually. Not before Big Nasty. I started taking pictures, I just went to the track. I met up with Allnut there because he was racing it. And we actually, I think that year, the Triple Crown Motocross Series, we brought a couple rounds, an open bike or two, just to like promote it, display it. And so there was a few motocross races I would just take pictures at and get to know people, network. And then the ball started rolling for setting a 2016 schedule, and brought a race online in Reno that 2016, and then Carnegie as well. So, it's kind of interesting how it all kicked off because we didn't really know what we were doing. I was working. I was actually still in college when we did the first event. I was 22. So,
wow.
That's how it all kind of started.
That's wild.
It's all blur now. It's crazy.
Yeah, you just jumped right in though. That's crazy.
We did, and we kind of had a little bit of. We thought we were kind of against the horns and stuff, like because we weren't really working with them. But shortly after, when I started doing my own thing, Jordan and I got really close, and I started working with him and helping him at his events. And George Horn is one of the best people I know in the sport, and it's so sad that he passed, a couple years ago, but the guy was just incredible. His family, what they did for decades. I still look up to them in the sense of like what they used to pull off,
right. Yeah.
So I'll never forget one of the Naha races, 2017 or something like that. I was walking through the vendor area and I look back at the hill and he had 5 hills running at the same time. Mm-hmm. And I just like had to stand there and take it in. That's like embedded in my brain forever. And so they had a great operation. And I got to work with him on marketing. I got to see him at his highs and lows, like that rain out was just heartbreaking. I was in the truck with him when he had to cancel the event with everybody there when it got rained out. And I think that was 2016. Mm-hmm. So him and I got pretty close. We used to meet up and I used to help him get radio stations on board and whatnot. But great human being, amazing human being. And I'm really glad I got to learn things from him and help him at his events.
Mm-hmm. That 2017 one was so fun. It was like perfect conditions. And that was me and Luke's first one at one of George's events too. So I can remember that weekend pretty vividly. And it was like dangerously close for that one being rained out too. I remember they were talking like we almost didn't get to race that weekend. And then the conditions were unbelievable.
Yep. I think that was when Nedge and Kevin did it maybe. Or maybe they were later, but
maybe it was. I guess I thought it was George, but it maybe wasn't. I could be wrong.
Yeah, it was one of them, but I remember because that's one of the first episodes that Superfly and Austin and I were filming. And so I filmed him at that event and he had the Beta Nitro bike and his Yamahas and stuff. And the conditions were so good that weekend.
Yeah, I feel like that was... that would have been it because I'm pretty sure I remember his Beta Nitro bike and it was always wild.
Yeah, it was. And so, but yeah, it was, those first few years were interesting for sure. Mm-hmm.
So when you got involved in Carnegie and the promoting, like, where did you start? Was it from the speeds, and how did you find like your contacts to even find out who to ask? Or that just must have been an unbelievable undertaking just to find out where you had to go to even start asking permission.
Yeah, we got to, because Mark Speed's pretty involved with the state and he does a lot of volunteer trail work out there. He rides there every Sunday and he's very involved with that park. So I think just between his relationship with the state, he connected us with Jeremy, and Jeremy worked with us on the permit. It's cool because we work with Jeremy to this day. Cool. So we have a really good working relationship with Jeremy and his whole team. But it was kind of, I don't remember a lot of those details. I know Bubba and I split up a lot of work type of stuff. So that could have been more on his end. It could have been mine too. I don't remember too much, but we kind of just found food vendors and worked with Don Earhart and Jordy and, some of the guys at the BMC and kind of made it happen.
When you were working with George, obviously a man that had been promoting a lot, and done a lot of different things and wasn't scared to try. That's where the side-by-side racing came from. was him, and he didn't sound like I never got the pleasure. I saw him. I'm not going to say I knew him. I think I shook his hand one time. That was about it. But what was like for him when you guys were working together? What was always, there's usually one basic goal, when you're promoting. Was his goal, just trying to get the best event for the fans? Was it, trying to get the most riders there? Like, where was his like avenue of promoting? What was success to him,
For him, it was keep a smile on your face no matter what. The customer's always right. Do what you got to do to put on the best experience possible for them. And even with no matter your resources, you can still hit those baseline, values. And he loved competitive, the racing aspect of it, but he loved also just the community and what it brought to the table. His dad owned the store there before Tony did back in the day. So that's kind of how they kept things going and kept it in-house for them. But yeah, he was just a very resourceful man, and always a very kind man and patient man too. So,
right.
But he also, if you cross him, he'd kick you out. It's not like he was a pushover.
You got to have that. You won't be a promoter if you don't have that, right?
Yeah, which I'm working on. So
right. Yeah,
there's, we all have our differences, but he was a pretty amazing human.
It's something that my life, I don't know why, but I'm just always busy. I'm just constantly like always in a hurry to get somewhere because I'm just work all the time, family, everything, But the one thing I've always wanted to do is just like a dream that probably never happened, but just promoting an event. Like if I just wish that like I owned some land where I could have my own gig and event or whatever. And it's just so dang interesting to me, the nuts and bolts of promoting, because there's 1,000 irons in the fire at all time. Right. And, I see some promoters, and this is just me looking from either a spectator or a competitor, but like you take like the Devil's Staircase, that's a freaking party. They want to have the best party in the world, right? I go to the Great American, they want to have the best events like Hillclimb. I don't even think they care if there's one spectator there. They're about having the best hill and the rider experience, And it's like, it's always been interesting to me to go from venue to venue because I love the sport and I just want it to have what it can have or get better. And how do you make those promoters happy? Like what do they want? And that's what I wanted to talk to you a bunch tonight about like what your goals are when you're promoting an event and what George's were and the people that you've learned from. I mean, you've mentioned 10 different names of people that promote events, it's like, do you feel like people have different goals when it comes to events like that?
For sure. And there's a lot of limitations based on resources you can get, the sponsorships you can get, or the venue itself. Like we would love to have full rights to the Carnegie Hill and leave up dirt and features and put in a permanent watering system there and all this other stuff that, proper venues have. But we just don't own that land and we rent it from the state, which is a good deal. Like we are very blessed to have, like I said, a great relationship with them, but also, a great facility. It's a legendary spot. And so, but it's not like the perfect spot, we make do with it. And so, I think a lot of those factors determine off the venue and the type of resources you can pull. I put on that race in Reno for several years and it wasn't the perfect hill, but it had the perfect parking area. But it was better for a hard enduro. So that's when I started doing hard enduro at that venue. And so, I learned, that you could be close to a town like Reno too, or close to 6 million people or within 2 hours of Carnegie. Right. But nobody cares because they got a million other things going on in the area. They got the Warriors, the Niners, they got baseball games, and everyone has their thing going on, where sometimes the quieter towns can pull more spectators and more
Right.
resources and sponsorships, like you guys are the Jelinex and, or Columbus, that they
Right.
can pull more resources because that's the biggest thing going on in that town,
Yep.
So bringing the most business in so they could return that value. Where Carnegie, it's a blip on the map, the amount of gas you guys pay at the gas stations here in Tracy when it's on it's on I-5,
Mm-hmm.
So there's the economic return that we bring to the Bay Area is not worth us. It's not a blip, it's not really noticeable. Where for the smaller towns and venues in those regions could really pull a lot more. So
Yeah.
it's interesting. So the promoting I still am I feel like a rookie every event I put on. I get so humbled. There's nothing more humbling than putting on your own event. It is, you guys understand putting on the Bay City races and other events. It's, you really get to dig deep into what you're capable of, and no one, you won't complain about an event anymore the same way until you put on your own.
Do you make notes? Do you have a spreadsheet or one of my guys my buds that I hunt with, every time he goes hunting, he writes down if he got busted by an animal or he tries to use all of his failures as notes, and that's how he just keeps getting better and better. Do you do anything like that with your promoting? Do you have notes, or do you just remember, or do you have any kind of system that you use?
For Carnegie, we have post-race meetings with our team, and we take notes on those. So I have those notes, but I don't reference them as much as I maybe should. But at the same time, each event, you need the ambulance, you need the bathrooms, you need the food vendors, you need the insurance, the permit, all this list of stuff. And so when you set up the parking, the way that the flow of traffic goes or whatnot, usually those mistakes are learned and we fix them the next event just because we have decent memory. But we do document the things that we can improve upon, and I just don't use it as gospel as much.
Right. Well, about this, we got a sponsor, and if we don't get this commercial in, it's gonna, we might not even be back, right? So it's important for us to hear this commercial, but we got more to listen. We got more to talk about. I want to talk more about promoting. I know Logan and Luke do. We got to talk about Pogue Soul. I want to hear all your experiences with the Mistrettas, and that was just unbelievable. What an unbelievable event that was. Europe, and then what's coming on in the future for Motoclimb be awesome. But you okay sticking around, Matt?
Of course.
All right, let's hear from this awesome sponsor.
Against the Grain Design and Print is proud to announce its partnership with Find the Line. Against the Grain works with clients to build their business and racing goals through the design and production of premium stickers and decals. We offer one-of-a-kind subscriptions for a flat monthly fee that can save you hundreds of dollars. Custom mailers, white label printing, motocross graphics, and anything else you can think of, we have you covered. It's time to print your passion. Visit atgdesign.co or email sales@atgdesign.co.
Hey there, Find the Line listeners. We will always be looking for partnerships for Find the Line. Please email findthelinepod@gmail.com to see how we can work together to grow your brand. Once again, that's findthelinepod@gmail.com. Now, let's get back to it.
Oh, balls. ATG Design, look the frick out, man. I don't even know if you can have a good-looking bike if it doesn't come from ATG Design. I already know Matt's thinking about some flamingo tropical design that he's going to get to for his bike from ATG Design. But, we could go right now. We tried to take a break. We had like a 3-hour jam session in the middle. This could be a 10-hour show. We're going to have to have you back on, Matt. But when I think of you, I think Matt Musgrove, and the next name that comes out of my mouth is Austin Tyler, right? And who doesn't love frickin' Superfly? And Logan, tell me that you haven't seen a lifetime of Superfly videos, right?
Yeah, it's kind of funny that you say you're late to the social media game, yet one of the first vloggers in the Hillclimb world, which actually, come to think of it, it's not really that big of a deal because there's almost no real social media. Got to take a little jab while we can.
Yep.
Ahead of everybody, yeah. The bar is set pretty low, unfortunately. But the Superfly vlog series was actually pretty sweet because you guys basically spent the whole summer traveling around, or longer than summer, but at least it was like, dang, it felt like we couldn't go to a race without somehow ending up in a Superfly vlog for a summer.
Yeah, that was pretty, that's really kind of what kicked off the next chapter of where we are today, I guess, is learned a lot about media, learned a lot about, different events. The Motoclimb Super Series, came from this vlog series in a sense. So I reconnected with Austin at that 2016 Big Nasty. I flew up there and I didn't have a place to stay. They offered me a bed or a couch, and I slept, on their couch at the Tylers. Obviously, the great family, and so they hosted me, and I was taking pictures, doing content, kind of just for the sport, and kind of getting social Instagram and Facebook off the ground. That event, I kind of realized, whoa, like these guys don't have much Instagram or social media presence compared to other disciplines, and yet they're riding some of the craziest bikes you've ever seen, laid eyes on. And why isn't this getting more promotion? And these athletes are actually really talented. Like they should be getting credit. They're very, skilled in what they do. And so the sport just wasn't giving it. The promoters weren't giving them. From that period, the promoters weren't really putting in the effort that you guys deserve. Don't take that in the way that the sport has never gotten attention. Obviously, the early 2000s to 2008, huge amount of promotion from, media outlets and the promoters, the Petersons, Waddell on TV, and all this other huge stuff that was before my time. That I look back and be like, wow, they had some awesome promotion back then. They really did it right. And like the Petersons doing the halftime show at the Red Bull event in Glen Helen, cool. At X Fighters and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. It's just like, oh man, they had it figured out, and they still do. Like the Petersons now do an incredible job at their event, and all respect towards what they have accomplished and stuff. And
say, Matt,
but
to back you up a second, when you first said, when you went to Austin's house and you're like, I pulled out my camera, and you said, wow, Luke and Logan, were you thinking what I was thinking? I was thinking you were going to say, wow, when I pull my camera out, this guy does crazy shit. Is that what? Because that's where I thought you were going to go when you were like, when you said, I pulled out my camera, and I'm like, wow. And I was going down a different road, Matt.
No, well, that's kind of why we kind of were attached to the hip after that event, because he spent time in California next, like his grandparents lived 20 minutes from me. And so, he did crazy things, and it needed to be documented. And,
yes.
But he pulled them off somehow, and sometimes he didn't, but it was, he kind of had that it factor for getting views or getting attention. And whenever he lined up at the hill, people were like, oh shoot, what's he going to do? He's either going to wad or win. And so, and he knows that that's his style. And we just decided to document it the year of 2017. So
that's like how Josh Hill phrased it in the last episode. There's some riders that are more exciting than others.
Yeah, to say it respectfully, yeah. You tell. I don't know if those are the words that Dan Matsunaga would say necessarily.
No.
A fan favorite.
Yes. Yeah, definitely a fan favorite, and great with the fans too. And so that off season, we kind of kicked off the vlog series, and I was kind of starting to get into it. It was kind of crazy. We went to, one of our first trips was go to Beaumont just on our own, and we filmed down there with Brett, and it was awesome, and got some cool footage, and went to Jawbone that trip as well.
Wow.
For the first time together, and filmed there, and just kind of did things. I got a lot of inspiration from some movies, some ski movies and some action sports movies that, film athletes going down hills. And so I try to incorporate perspective going up hills. And I don't have any of the equipment that those guys in those big cinema movies have, but it was the style and like the feeling of like, hey, this is more than just a cell phone recording of a guy going up a hill. Yep. So, yeah, we try to incorporate some new things that haven't been done before. It was kind of like a vlog series but it wasn't necessarily all super personal. We tried to incorporate music and put edits into it and stuff. So it was really special. And then I chased him around the country to the different races that he did, and went to Billings, when he was testing, and blew up his Bandit, and like all these crazy things. And actually on the way to SoCal, or on the way back from SoCal, we were so jazzed, and we're like, what if we just like went to France? No one's done it, because we were thinking no one went since 2009. The Beers went in 2009. I was like, why hasn't no one ever gone? And so we took it upon ourselves. I emailed Damien from Libresse, and we just started the relationship fresh. And that's when the year we went to France for the first time too. Cool. So we jumped around the country, did some Naha races, did some Rockwell races, Great American, and went to France, then Great American, and then Pogues Hole in August, and third week of August. And that's when we met the Mistrettas. And so it's kind of a crazy year, because we just put it all out there and see what stuck.
Before we move on from the introduction to social media, I've got one more question, because you brought up a point and it just dawned on me too. Back in the day, like when my dad started going out west, you could pre-order DVDs of full event recaps. There were Dirt Rider magazine articles, like full TV shows about the sport, like all this stuff. We had such great media, but then, like you said, we got to the late 2000s, and it just like, did we just hit a wall, or what happened in your opinion? Do you think, are we just a bunch of boomer hill climbers that didn't know how to use social media and fell behind, or what?
I wonder if it's that they paid for that. They bought those DVDs. They bought Dirt Rider magazine. Like those are medias that you had to purchase. So there was a budget there for them.
I think it was a mixture of things. The economy definitely, I think it was about the 2008 time when the media presence started taking a dip. I'm sure that made a huge effect on a lot of people in the racing community. But that was before I got involved. But because it was on MAP TV or Lucas Oil TV a lot more often, and would get some more credit in news publications. And so I've thought about that a lot, and I think the sport didn't really, or the people of the sport, before the social media hit the scene, the sport fell in a good place with traditional media, like good enough. Yeah. So TV, print magazines, those type of things were good enough for the traditional media outlets. Once social media came on board, I don't think the sport or the people of the sport really took charge of it necessarily, or took advantage of it as it was growing. And it also exposed them how tiny the sport is too, because the sport is extremely small, and there's really no economy with the sport. Like it's untrackable economy. It's very like, what's the economic impact of Hillclimb, Motoclimb to the sport, to the entire motorcycle industry? It's barely noticeable. And so I don't know. It's interesting that it did kind of hit a dip. You look at the stars of that time: Smith, Peterson, Waddell, the Beers, and really the Petersons were the leading edge of media and presence. I remember Jason Smith too had a really good program. That video of his nitro bike, that I think Dirt Bike Mag did, went super viral. But Brett and Robbie always had their hands and connections in SoCal, which really helped propel their efforts. I remember seeing their media packet decks in the past, and just super well done. And their entire program was always so professional, but they were the only ones at that level. And it wasn't like companies were jumping on board to support other athletes to go up against that team necessarily in that way. And so I don't know, we could write a book on how this entire sport is, people have raced 3 different classes. You guys raced 3 different classes on insanely custom machines And the lack of support is just is incredible to me. And so that's the big goal when we're working with Austin since the beginning with our events and stuff. That's like, how do we give you guys more exposure to where you guys can get paid? And it's still a goal that I slam my head against the wall every year about, because I don't feel like it's like we're walking backwards. And we have made a lot of progress, don't get me wrong, but it's like, for the amount of talent and success that you've had, Logan, like in any other sport, you'd be making major salary, like an adequate salary at least. And so it's, I kind of take it personally at times where I'm like, man, did I just fail at this or something? Because like I wanted to make sure you guys get paid. I want to make sure Austin gets paid, and I don't think we're done yet. Like you still obviously have a lot more time on your competitive career, and Austin, now getting connected with Suzuki and stuff. Like I think we're hitting a positive turn, but it's still disappointing. I'm still bummed.
I came home from Washington last weekend, and I don't think I told you this yet, but I was like, get to work Tuesday morning, like every other day. And I'm like sitting at my computer working, and I'm just like, dude, 36 hours ago, I was dropping gates next to Josh Hill, won over 5 figures in purse money over the weekend. And like, I literally have to come back to work because I'm like, how many people could say the same thing, that going, not at all like I'm trying to be or say that I'm up to Josh's level, but it's just so frustrating at times that you can do this, be at the top, the basically pinnacle of the sport that we have here, and you're just a normal guy on Tuesday and have virtually nothing to show for it. And I know that I could do significantly better in the social media side of things and all that, but you're also limited to, I can only invest back into my social media what I feel I get out of it too, in one aspect. So it's like, yeah, like you say, you just feel like you're banging your head against the wall at times, and it's just crazy perspective when you take a step back and look at it and look at the experience that you've been able to create while doing that. But also, like, on Tuesday morning, I'm just some peon in a corporate company doing what I'm told to do.
Don't cry too hard. It's so easy just to watch the tracks one tile long. You're just sitting there looking forward, watching the tracks go by. Not that difficult, bud. Toot the horn when you see a railroad crossing. It's not that hard, okay?
It is incredible, and it's the ultimate hobby right now. Like it's kind of still there, and but I think we all want it to be more. We think it can be there. It's just, I think that's a whole different episode that we can dig into, is like, let's peel back the onion one of these days and really dig into the nuts and bolts of this thing. Go back in the past and see where I don't think necessarily things went wrong. It is what it is, but it's just, it baffles me to this day to why, after X Games, after, some of the huge athletes that we brought to the events, being on Red Bull Motorsports YouTube channel, like none of you guys got anything out of it. Yeah. Like, I don't want to say like that wasn't impactful. It was impactful, but it didn't open a door for a company to support you. And being so involved with hard enduro, it's definitely reinforced my belief that, this is a problem that's going to persist unless there's a huge, huge shift in this space, in the Hillclimb, Motoclimb space.
That's what's almost the most frustrating about it, is no matter how good I do my resume, no matter how much time I spend writing out my emails to a company, it's the same generic, oh, thanks for applying on Hook It from Scott Goggles. Here's your 20% off on these limited stuff or whatever it is, whichever brand it is. And luckily, like, I definitely don't mean to sit here and complain and stick my bottom lip out and poor me, because I've got it really, really dang good and have been super fortunate. And some days it's like, dang, you're just grinding year after year, doing the social media, doing the sponsorship applications, and just nobody gives a shit what you do. And I mean, I've like you said, Red Bull TV, you go win at Josh Hill's house and get to go to a Travis Pastrana semi-promoted hard enduro, and just nobody but the local guys that are invested the local sponsors, really care a whole lot about any of that. And it baffles me.
I
It's
just
beyond.
I think that just what you've been saying though, like it's so hard to realize it, but it's a super slow burn. It's not going to be automatic. But look at the opportunities that the people in our sport have got in your generation that,
For sure.
maybe they haven't got before. And someone like Josh Hill, Justin Hill, Ryan Sipes, these people have got involvement and had fun in the sport. They've all said they had fun doing it. And Josh Hill created the big hill jam and had Hillclimb at his family's property. That's how big of a deal it is. And it's not going to be automatic. It's not going to be overnight, but the sport's never going to support riders until there's enough fans to make it worth their while. And that's what just takes damn near generations. It's like NASCAR has been around for how long? All these things, the Devil's Staircase has been there for 70 some years and worked their butts off and have an unbelievable event. It's like, we got to just understand that we can keep building ourselves up, but it's a slow burn. It ain't going to be overnight.
Yeah. Fans are a huge aspect, and also parts and bikes sold. If bikes and parts sold aren't being tracked, and that's a data set we can't really utilize to our future sponsors, then it's useless. It's totally worthless. That's why I'm a huge advocate for Pro Stock as well. I mean, and that could be its own podcast probably, but I really think that if you aren't selling bikes, if the sport's not selling bikes, not producing recreational riders, in hard enduro, we bring 200 to 300 racers on a weekend, but that's probably 2 to 4% of the people actually riding that type of terrain. Yeah. There's a huge swath of recreational people that make up the majority of the revenue streams for our sponsors. And people are afraid to go race. They don't want to race. They live far from them, but they beat up their bikes on hard trails. A lot of people aren't hill climbing for fun. You got Carnegie, Billings, you got, Keegan, and those guys are doing a lot of cool stuff with free riding, but it's still a really small niche, and it's going to be hard to sell enough product for those companies to reinvest into this sport.
And there's just so many different aspects too, because you look at like tractor pulling and demolition derbies, and there's all these different events that will get thousands of spectators to watch a local race. And like Logan was saying, there'll be people that will put hundreds of thousands of dollars into their pulling tractor to win a 30-pack of Busch Light or whatever, and it's like get no sponsor help almost whatsoever, or people that'll spend 6 months building a demolition car to take it to Iowa, where they might have 10,000 spectators at the event and get a $2,000 prize for first place. It's like, we're not the only sport that people just grind and there's almost no payback. And I think one of your catchphrases, Matt, is like, it's been built off passion, the sport, and maybe for too long. And that's what keeps everything around, is the passion though, too,
It is. Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah. It's like the ultimate in between, where it's dangerously close to becoming something more than that, but we're missing the industry support, where we've got the good purses that can be great bonuses, but you need some sort of industry support on top of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Or just support in general, outside of the racers paying the purses or the spectators paying the purses, which is all fine and great, but we need to make just a couple improvements in other areas that we just foresee for some reason can't right now.
Yeah, and it seems like it's now everything's tied with social media, and it's such an how do you pick the algorithm? Like what's the secret sauce to get anybody that has ever put a like on a racing post to see a post that we want to see? It's like that's what's so hard, and is to know how, what, when that we can promote to get those eyes on us, because now that's where it's all at. I mean, who doesn't look at their phone throughout the day, and check stuff out? And that's where everybody's getting their damn information from.
Yeah. And that goes back to why Austin and I started pushing more video content out and going to the races that he went to document his journey there. But going back a couple of years in 2015, me kind of creating the Motoclimb term and pushing that more so, because I looked at what the sport was, just hill climb. And then there were so many more bigger forms of hill climb that we were getting overshadowed by. And so that's why I was like, well, this hasn't been tried yet. Might as well try it. What's the worst that can happen?
Right.
And, you know, it's nothing to disrespect the early 1900s and the originators of the sport and the history of motorcycle hill climbing. It was more like, how can we reinvent the wheel to bring more eyes to the sport and also be more recognizable, and also deviate from that redneck, goonish side of hill climbing that always got made fun of by the industry. I remember Robbie Peterson telling me McGrath one time walked past his pit and just made some snarky remarks about being a redneck hill climber or something. And so I was like, well, maybe Motoclimb, using that term on social, using that term on websites and you know, search engines, will help when you Google hill climb bike, or when you Google hill climb, you get a myriad of things. But when you Google Motoclimb, you get Logan Cipala. You know, that's kind of was my initial goal. And to this day, I don't know if it's really moved the needle into where the outside world looks at it. But in terms of searchability and hashtags and things of that nature, it's definitely allowed the sport and the athlete to look a more professional and more appealing way, you know, to be something different and have a rebranding in a sense, to where it's not the guy without fenders and wearing overalls going up a hill without a helmet on. It's, you know, this guy is a motocross pro level rider going up the hill on a custom, you know, V-twin type thing. So the rebranding efforts was nothing to go up against the history or the you know, establishment of sense, but it was more so like, how can we rebrand to offer the athletes a different chance of success in the future? And I don't think it's hurt. You know, I don't know how much it's helped. I think that's a hard thing to determine, but I don't think it's hurt.
Yeah, definitely. There's a couple of things, and I've told you my opinion on them with Motoclimb and some of the rules and changes that maybe I do or don't agree on, and we've talked about it a lot. But there's one thing that I can 100% get behind, and that's just calling this Motoclimb, because it's motorcycle hill climbing. It's what we do. That's what it is. And yeah, it's a little bit of a struggle because you don't want to erase the history of what has been, but it's anybody can go on Google and you type in hill climb and do a Google search and look what comes up, and you do a Google search on Motoclimb and look what comes up. And that's one thing that I think really needs to be pushed, because it's defining what we do, because there's hundreds of sports, maybe not hundreds, but multiple sports that do hill climb that have nothing to do with us and don't pertain to what we're doing. And, you know, you get some industry guy that looks up hill climb and then there's a bunch of cars there and he's got a resume with a dude on a dirt bike in front of him. He's gonna be like, what does this mean to me?
Yeah, I drive through Pennsylvania, an hour from Freemansburg, and see there's a hill climb next weekend, but they close off a section of road and drive cars up it.
Yep.
Or I remember in 2018, 2019, there was a world championship hill climb in California, and it was a cycling race up a hill. And so, in the world's biggest hill climb is Pikes Peak in Colorado. We will never be bigger than Pikes Peak. Like they get factory support. The factories test cars there, bikes there. Like it is that is hill climbing. Pikes Peak is hill climbing. And it's not motorcycle hill climbing. It's not like the hill climbing we talk about, but in the real world of where money comes in from those OEMs, that's hill climbing. And so, you know, there's huge social media pages. Hill Climb Monsters is the one I post about sometimes, and awesome cars. I love those cars, those mod cars and stuff, but they're had nothing to do with, you know, Austin Tyler, Logan Cipala, or Jake Anstead. And so, you know, it's funny. I chat GPT Hill Climb and Motoclimb last month, and I guess my persistence has paid off in the eyes of ChatGPT, because ChatGPT said hill climbing is a form of racing on paved roads up a hill, and motoclimb is a form of racing off road, really up a hill, a dirt hill, and that's very difficult and on bikes. And so it's like, oh, cool. So like my persistence of pushing that branding has actually paid off in ChatGPT's eyes. Big whoop. But, how do we get more money into the sport? That's what I care about,
All that's awesome. And like you said, we could have 10 episodes, but we want to talk about
Yes.
Matt Musgrove, but that's very important to who you are. Cause that's like, I announced you're Mr. Motoclimb. That's why it's important for people to understand what your motivation is behind that and what you're trying to accomplish. Cause it's one of the number one most recognizable things about your promoting part is motoclimb. Right. So, I mean, that's a good story, but back to Matt, right? And back to just this crazy world that you live in, and you're promoting motoclimb. You're done with college now. You're going through all of a sudden this freaking hard enduro. What opened the door for you in hard enduro? Where did this avenue come from?
I think I just paying attention to action sports things. Red Bull obviously was a huge part of hard enduro success early on. Just paying attention to trends. Hard enduro I saw in the 2016, 2017 was like starting to increase. Another thing is Max Simmons used to be sponsored by our IRC in like the 2014, 2015 years, and Kevin Merrick was Max's mechanic and connected me with the guys at IRC. And so IRC was getting hard enduro. They had hard enduro support in Japan, and they were starting to do more of a presence in the US. And so I think between IRC's influence and what I saw trends wise, my race in Reno that I was putting on, which was just a motoclimb race, I wanted to do a hard enduro, try it out. So we had, I think, 22 entries the first year. Really simple course. I thought it was the hardest thing ever. And I remember Tyler Gaines, one of our local guys, Carnegie guys, messaged Kyle Redman, hard enduro legend out here in SoCal. And he's like, hey, you should check out this race in Reno. And Kyle's like, okay, cool. And he went up and he came to the race, and I had like a 3-hour time limit, or like some 2.5-hour time limit up this like small course, 4 or 5 miles or something, 3 miles. And Kyle looks at it and he's like, cut the race length in half. He's like, just don't make it that long. And I was like, okay, I'll listen to you. Cause he was going over K-rails and doing crazy stuff. And I was like, all right, I'll listen to you. You're like an actual legit rider. Ended up, he won the race, obviously. He did like 11 or 12 laps around this little short course, like probably a few miles long. Second place got like 4 laps. I'm glad I took his advice early on, because that was my first experience with dealing with an actual, factory supported pro back in the day. And so from there, we improved the race to 40 or so entries in 2018. And 2019, we had 80 or so entries. And then when COVID hit, that race ended. But at that time, I started to get my foot in the door with the hard enduro scene. I got to meet Cody Webb. He was a pretty big promoter of just the sport, and he still is to this day the best promoter we have of the sport for athlete wise. And but back in the day when he was on KTM, he would come out and he showed me some things that he could do and help me get better at building a course and whatnot. And then we had Tristan Hart early on, and before he was ever with KTM, and Max Gerson, who I work with on every hard enduro weekend, he was competing at our event. And so it was just really cool because at that time, hard enduro didn't have a series. I think I was one of the AMA state championships that they had at that time for the Extreme Off-Road Series that they had in 2019. But the first 2 years were non-AMA, and 2018, actually, we had a Hillclimb challenge. And that was the whole event was like based on, it was like a 3-moto thing. It was like a short course, a long course, and a hill climb. And the hill climb was this rocky, huge 250 foot face that that I wanted to see, like, hey, can you guys make it? And Cody Webb rode with me in the winter out there earlier, and he tried 4 times and didn't make it in the wintertime. So I was like, okay, so it's good. And he had a run up and stuff. He barely kind of creeped over it, but so it was, I think May, the event was in May, and I think I had 19 guys like that signed up for that particular event. And I at the writers meeting at the bottom of the hill, I'm like, all right, guys, I'm going to have you sign this waiver again. So I had him sign a waiver a second time, just kind of as like a warning, like, hey guys, this is like a no joke of a hill. 2 guys dropped out. And then I knew Evan Ask at that time because I met him in Billings. I knew he went to Romaniacs and stuff. And I just like, all right, Evan, you're first. You go for it because you're a hill climber. He's like, oh, thanks. And so we had these guys hit. No one made it over. Tristan Hart got the furthest up the hill and ended up winning the overall of that event, winning all 3 motos. But it was just a really, really cool thing. I hired a Gaston Gardy, remember that filmer?
He was awesome.
Hired him to film that event. And so we got some media out of that to get Cody's Red Bull helmet there. It's just it was cool, and the next year was an AMA event. So I kind of started getting pretty involved with the hard enduro space because I knew that's where the support was going to be more so from I was talking to Beta. I was getting sponsors from bigger companies and riders that were actually getting salary, so I knew I wanted to ride the wave of hard enduro. I just didn't know where it was going to go.
Oh, if I owned a bike company, I would want every person to ride hard enduro.
Exactly.
I mean, I would sell them a bucket of shifters and brake levers with every bike. I would just give them, do you have a direct contact to the order desk? It's like, what better sport? I mean, you're going to completely trash your bike in maybe one event. The parts that come on it are not going to be good enough. Like, you're going to need so many things. It's the perfect race for a factory to promote.
It's wonderful to be around people that look at dirt bikes as like tools more than like a personal, I can't dent it or I can't hurt. Like, they look at it as a tool for putting a smile on their face and getting to places that can't get no other person can get. And that's kind of hard enduro is a big test of that. And these people aren't afraid to throw their bikes down a cliff, or risk their bodies and their equipment to get up. And it's inspiring. And that after every race, I kind of like walk around the pits and just laugh at some of these bikes because they are just. And the racers are always just proud of their battle scars, like, half the bike's missing and they're just proud of it.
Was it,
awesome.
I think Sean was Nitro and Mud from High Tech Racing. He said that, what was it, $50,000 they spent on headers for one season. It's like, that's a freaking awesome, that's an awesome thing for a manufacturer.
It's a good customer.
Yeah, that's just one part on the freaking Motor United's team. It's insane.
And going back to what we were talking about, that's what keeps hard enduro growing. And that's because there's money going into the bikes. There's money. So Tristan Hart gets a salary because people are buying KTMs at full retail.
Yep.
If it was just Tristan Hart and it was a show of, 20 pros, there would have to be, 10,000 spectators to pay that off. But there has to be an aspect of the amateur that pays those salaries, that pays those mechanics, that makes it all the whole entire ecosystem work.
What do you think the cost of like a parts bill from each US hard enduro race is that you guys start like after everyone leaves, how much money is contributed into parts?
That's a really interesting vector that we have not.
It has to be tens of thousands after every US hard enduro race. Like that Monday morning between all of the online retailers and all of your guys' sponsors.
Well,
it's just got to be like cha-ching, cha-ching,
quick math.
all day.
Let's say every single tire is $100, and you're gonna every single
One
bike
tire.
So every tire at a 200 race, at a 200 person race, that's $20,000 of one
Yeah.
person can retire on
So it's
rear
not tens
tire.
of thousands, it's hundreds of thousands.
It could be, and if every other person needs a shifter or a lever or a side shroud or something, it just adds up. It's probably 50 to 75,000 on average.
Or like Tobin, where he breaks the master cylinder on the rear brake, right?
Those parts companies love Miller Brothers.
Yeah.
Champion brake, not so much. No, Matt Adams is such a good advocate for the sport. We're just talking. I told you, Joel, yesterday, Logan, I was talking to Matt Adams, and he's like, man, that Joel guy's really cool. And he has this, Wisconsin accent. He's like, he's kind of like the Matt Adams of hill climbing. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's perfect.
Yes. Wow, I'd be honored to be the Matt Adams. I'm not even close. I can't even touch that man's energy.
Very similar roles of just great advocates, always a smile on your face, like always looking like when you give criticism, it's constructive. Like you're always like trying to support people too. Just the reason I'm committed to these two disciplines is because the people are so humble, the best community, and it's hard to get an ego in both sports. Mm-hmm. Like you're going to get humbled either by the open bike, you're going to get humbled by some kicker on the hill, you're going to get humbled by an 8-foot cliff or something. So at a prepared motocross track against 40 other dudes, Hayden Deegan can be cocky because he's the most talented and the track is rideable. It's not impossible to get around. But when you have an impossible hill and a 200 horsepower bike that you're trying to hold on to, it's hard to be cocky.
Yeah, and I think like comparing the two sports, we were talking with Tobin, like with hard enduro, you cannot not see the talent of the riders. It's impossible. Mm-hmm. If you've even rode just a pedal bike, when you look at like when we're talking with Tobin, he's like, I can't even walk up the stuff I'm going up. It's crazy, and how they're able to get 1/2 tire rotation and throw their bike a whole bike length up. It's wild. Just the overall oozing talent of the top level guys. And then in Hillclimb, to me, and this is just my opinion on both, but Hillclimb's just a flat out spectacle. If you're there, it just hits you. Like when that frickin' Buell leaves, it's like my hair stands up. It's like it's a frickin' you're taming like a wild beast, and that's where in Hillclimb. Thank you, Matt, from US Motoclimb. I got to go to France. They got it right. Everything else sucks. Just have open bikes, like one class. I don't care what you bring. It's bring whatever you want. There's one class. Who's the baddest MFer here? We don't care what you bring. If it's a 500, a 4,000 cc, whatever, just bring it. I mean, that's it. France has got it going for that. But backing up to you again, because we keep going. This is another episode, right, Matt? But backing up to you, when you got into the hard enduro and you started promoting these, is kind of that when you thought, all right, I'm going to try to make a life, a career, a path out of promoting? Or was it before that?
I was working full time while doing events and trying to take time off to travel with Austin. And then there was a point where I was just like, if this is the time of my life, I'm living with my parents. My living expenses are really low. I ended up quitting my job and just went full force into it. And so when I was starting to film with Austin, and put on more races, it was a interesting time because I was not giving full effort at work and not giving full effort into this. And, looking back, maybe it wasn't the best idea or anything, but here we are. So, I was blessed with the opportunity to kind of keep it going, and, we made it work. So it's just, I think traveling with Austin and seeing the opportunities that came our way was really eye-opening, and seeing the impact media has on the sport. Yeah. And like Logan was saying, like there wasn't even a bar to set. Nobody was doing that. Right. It was 2017. No one made a vlog series, and no one chased people around the country to document this. And yes, there's been, like we were saying, there was TV episodes and there was documentation of races and stuff, but I mean, at that time, YouTube was very popular. Social media was only growing. And so it's like, why isn't no one really taking hold of this? Right. I had a really great meeting one time with Jeff and Jason Smith. I don't know, this is maybe 2016 or 2017, maybe 2017. Yeah, I think 2017. I went to their house, checked out the shop, and super good people. And I remember him telling me, he's like, man, I kind of wish there was somebody putting the effort you were putting into me at that time, when he was at his peak of racing career.
Right.
And it kind of made me sad in the sense, like, those guys had so much going for them, and like racing wise, and like their equipment and their pit setups and the events, also big, nasty, 14,000 people, Pogues Hole, like Glen Helen, all these awesome venues and events. And social media like kind of came right after that was like peaking. So I don't know. I look back at that too as like, those guys didn't really get the chance to take advantage of social media in their prime.
I bet you that in all of action sports, whether it's Evel Knievel or Axel Hodges or all this, like it's took someone to let people other than who were standing there watching see it, right? Like I got to think that Axel Hodges' brother had a big impact on his career, right? Because he knew how to capture it, And it's like it's a team effort, like to get to the level of where you have hundreds of thousands or millions of people wanting to see what you're doing. That is a collaborative effort that can't be done by one person,
Exactly.
That's what we were just talking when we left Washington. I think I was talking to Dad and Dog or something. And just because you brought Smiths up, like, it's just unbelievable to think of the amount of effort and the amount and how dialed their program was top to bottom for him to go. It was 3 or 4 years winning every single championship in Naha back then.
Wow.
Every single freaking championship. So it was like either 12 or 16 championships straight. I mean, no, you can't have a single mechanical.
Yeah.
You can't make a mistake in a verticross match. You can't do anything wrong throughout. And they were doing 6-7 rounds most of the time back then, probably, Matt. I know Carnegie X12, Washington, Sturgis, Columbus, like they were big series. And it was stacked competition too.
Yeah. No, it boggles my mind. I remember, I don't know if he told me this or he told Austin, but he one time had a meeting with Yamaha, and I don't want to spread rumors or, I could be wrong with this, but they saw his resume, 27 Naha championships. There's something super high number of legit titles with that series. And they kind of just were like, shrugged their, he just didn't get what he was wanting out of it. And I don't think he ever got legit support. Especially he didn't get what he deserved or wanted out of it. But it's just crazy. But how many Yamahas did Jason Smith sell? How many parts did Jason Smith sell, or the Naha series actually help sell parts or bikes? And like Joel, you were saying back in the day, I think that time also, Naha was giving away a 450 Suzuki as a championship. That was from Suzuki corporate. Wow. So there was legit support back then.
Wow.
And it also was the time when extensions were starting to go on 450s. I'm not saying that was a killer or anything in it. I just don't think it helped. I don't think extensions on 450s helped the sport grow. I don't know if it hurt, but being 450s, how popular they became in that 2005 to 2008 timeline, and automatically throwing extensions on and building custom swing arms for it, I don't think that was the right move in the sense of, what it could have been. I could be wrong, but looking back now, it didn't really bring the sport to a factory level.
Yeah, and that's where, like, I just try to be quiet about a lot of these things because for me, I'm old. I'm the old-minded person or whatever. And now I'm cheeseburger eating, beer drinking, open class body, right? And I could just, I only got one wheel on the 450, I could care less about it. It's a class that I run to try to get points. I've never seen, the side-by-side, that is exciting. The fans like that. That's entertaining. But that, I almost think like the 450 class in general, as much as I'm not a side-by-side person, it's so good for the crowd. I just think it's a waste of time. I think for me, especially it just solidified it going to Europe. Like for me, and I love your aspect about selling parts, selling all that. For me, I like the spectacle of it. All I want is the open class. That's all I want. And I just think like those unique one-off builds, that's where we are. People don't go to the tractor pull to watch the old, 806 pull. They go there to watch the one with the frickin' 4 nitro motors hanging off of it.
For sure.
Frickin' going ape shit down the track. Like that's what our open bike is. It's like, oh my God, look they got to have a fan on them before they start. Otherwise the fumes are going to knock them out, like the spectacle. So that's where I love what you're talking about, and you're not wrong, and I'm not right or wrong either. But it's just like everybody has their.
No,
own.
you're wrong. You're wrong.
I'm 110% on board with the open class. I completely agree. It should. I've talked to the team out here, like bringing back the 66-inch 601 class at Carnegie because it is a rider's class and it gets 2 more rides on the open bike. Why not bring it back? And it also leaves the 700 class in the middle again. It's like, imagine if that $15,000 to $20,000 700 bike, in theory, that money was put into people's travel / open bike program.
Right.
We could put more rides on the open bike. You could build a more quality, faster, better looking, up-to-date open bike. And it can have a more impact than the 700 class doesn't have an impact on the sport. It's either open class or verticross. That's it.
Yeah.
We all know that. That's kind of fact. The 700 class is kind of just blows your guys' budgets out. And I'm not saying it, I still love it. It's something we promote, the pro mod class.
Right.
It's great because people have these bikes in existence. But if we were to start from scratch, do you think we'd have a 700 class?
No.
And the problem with it is they're literally the same bikes. They're either a 450 or they're an open bike. They just have a different CC size that a spectator can never tell. But from a spectator's eyes, they're no different.
Yeah.
If we had more open bike rides on the hill, I see that at Carnegie. We only have like an hour and 15 minutes of open class. I'm like, oh, how do we fix this? And that's where the 601 idea came back up. Is it was like, man, this would be nice to have open bike short in the morning, first to start the day off, let people to change their setups throughout the day, end the day with unlimited. I see a smirk on Logan's face. I think it might be a good idea.
That's where I started. I cut my teeth in the Rockwell series, so it was a scary day when we had to put the open bike to 66 inches. But
you got to see you got to see who can handle that thing with a knobby and 66 inches.
When Dad was riding his Harley and he had to take the extensions completely off to get it.
That was the best.
You've never seen the freaking pipes are sticking out further than the rear wheel, and there's no
Todd's at
extensions
62
on the Harley.
I love the shit out of that thing too. It was epic.
He did ride
awesome.
pretty good.
It was so good, and you needed all 4 fingers and 2 hands to pull that clutch in too.
You'll like this one, Matt. A quick one. He looped it out over the top and destroyed the subframe and the pipes and everything. And Pete Krunich had a come along and a welder that he brought with from California. So he helped Dad straighten out the subframe and weld the pipe back together and the subframe back together way back. It was so awesome.
It's so believable.
And it's still like that.
Exactly.
But we're getting sidetracked. But the thing is too is going to all the other ones. It's easy to do the less classes if the purse is generated from the crowd. When you're trying to generate the purse from entries, now you need all the classes because we got to have people all want that good purse, and that's where we're coming at with all these classes. Is when that entry goes to the purse, you can't just have 30 bikes. You need a bunch of classes. So it's a slippery slope. With
like hard enduro, we added more classes this year. We've added classes every year. We started with I think 8, now we're at 19. But us adding classes brings new people into the sport.
Right.
It allows those classes to be less bloated.
Right.
When we do it in our sport, it's the same group of people racing the same bikes kind of, and it doesn't really bring new people in. That's where pro stock brings new people in. Having youth classes and youth exhibitions brings in new people. That's the kind of difference maker, is like having a third class doesn't necessarily bring in, if it doesn't bring in new people, what's the point?
Yeah. In hard enduro, do the entries go towards the purse, or where do the entries go in hard enduro?
It could be the purse to pay off the event. It could be a mixture of things. Each club is kind of structured differently. We don't pay the purses from US Hard Enduro. Each event is ran. They collect registration and they pay out the purse, and we charge the club a fee.
Oh, okay. All right, cool. All right.
Yeah. So it's kind of structured a little differently.
Okay. Oh, that's cool. Well, okay. Sorry. We kind of went down a couple different roads, but also we're already overextending your time. Sorry. But
no, you guys are good.
Also, I really wanted to touch on Pogue's Hole, and wow, I mean, the Mistrettas, Heaven Motoclimb there, Josh Hill. I mean, all the people that you got there involved in that race. I mean, holy crap! What an experience was that for you?
That was pretty wild. The first year I went was 2017, and I went with Austin to kind of document his time or his race there, and just crazy race. So many people, 15,000 people,
right?
The insane hill, and Jamie just announcing. It's just it gives me chills thinking about how special it was that we got to experience that event.
The people barbecuing in line, waiting to get in.
Yeah.
When you see people tailgating a hill climb, you know it's going to be good.
It's going to be
exactly
good.
Like the fact. I mean, you guys have this on the East Coast, but the 12-hour show or the 12 o'clock start time ends at 4 or 5. Like for me, that was a new thing because on the West Coast we have all day shows. So it was just really, really special. Mike, the Mistrettas, incredible family. They just put on such a great production, and each race they would have a party for the racers and the workers after the event, do some fireworks, have some beer bobbing contest, whatever they were doing, and so like they'd barbecue for everybody, have a band. It was just a great time, and that's when I really got to connect with Mike Mistretta, the promoter of that event, and I kind of told him like, hey, like, would you be open to helping start a nationwide coast to coast series? And this is kind of the first, like my first time there, I kind of pitched this to him and he kind of said, yeah, like we tried to do this years ago with Tyler Johnson, and it was going well with him and Tyler. And then with others, it kind of just didn't go anywhere. So him and Tyler were bummed about it, but he's like, this could be a good opportunity to try something new, rebrand it with the Motoclimb. He's like, let me know. And so I went home and talked to the Jelinex and talked to you guys with your guys' event and with Mike Bronk. And we kind of put it together with the Motoclimb Super Series in 2018. So Mike Mistretta was one of the founding fathers of that series. And he is, we were all had our initial board with him on it. And
wow,
they had to tweak their event a little bit. Each year kind of tweaked to cater to what we were asking for, like qualifying for the 450 verticross, things like that.
Right.
But, it was getting, they didn't see it as a downside, as a negative necessarily, having the series. And they saw that we were putting more investment towards media and getting a filmer there. Gaston went and getting, helping get Josh Hill there with Jay Sahlstrom, helping him get there with his open bike. And I helped bring extensions. And so those type of things got the Mistrettas excited because we got to bring more fanfare in that aspect for social media. So what
was the first, not to sidetrack to Motoclimb, but what was the first schedule for Motoclimb? So it was Pogue's Hole, Bay City.
It was Pogue's Hole, third weekend of August. So I think it was opening round could have been the Brick Mine.
It was.
Or were you guys in June then with Bay City?
No, we were right after. We've been in mid-July every time.
Okay, so it was Brick Mine, it was Bay City.
Yep.
Then it was Pogue's Hole, and then Carnegie, and that's the year Joel, you were there.
Holy
Sean would have come. We had in Luke and Logan, we had the poster, the banner with all your guys' faces on it.
Yep.
Ty Cat in Austin.
It's so cool.
Oh, so cool. What
and it was
lineup.
It was a true coast to coast. Like we were so proud to be like, we have a coast to coast series for the first time ever. So, it was cool. We stuck our necks out and we made it work. And then expanded relationships with other promoters and venues and such. So,
Right.
Yeah.
So with the Mastrettas, what all did you learn from them being a part of that venue and being just a part of that event? And I mean, what that family had done and did for Hillclimb is amazing. Like that event was a spectacle. That's what I say is a spectacle, like those people were coming there to see something, but what
they
did
set
you,
the standard.
Oh.
Yeah. I don't think it will be, there might be an event that gets that level, but that nothing will ever compare to Pogues Hole. Like they set the standard on the spectator experience. They set the standard on the racing aspect with the hill that was evenly divided between different styles, different disciplines. They really had it figured out, and it didn't happen overnight. They did 20 years of that. And so I'm 10 years in, and but they have a huge, workforce. Their whole entire extended family was involved. Like they had a full operation. Moto T's semi used to show up to sell t-shirts, and they would sell out. It was incredible.
Right.
Yeah. That, and then on top of the promotion and the event and the people, the hill was just unfreaking real. Like when you rolled down that road, I still remember for the first time when we pulled in and you're coming down Pogues Hole Road and you look up and you're like, what the fuck did I get myself into? I mean, it's not a hill, it's a wall. Yeah.
I had a picture somewhere of Luke standing up there, and I was like, I didn't even know dirt could stack that steep, right?
No.
Because Luke was like, it looked like he was like standing above me, but it was crazy.
Yeah.
It was so steep.
It's crazy.
And to like give an example of how passionate and hardworking that family is, that hill was like covered in trees before. So
wow.
Yeah.
It's not like that was just a washout or something. It's like they made that hill.
Mm-hmm.
Man, wow.
There's no hole like Pogues Hole.
Well said.
It was an incredible 3 years. I got to experience it, and my parents actually flew out to one of them.
Wow.
And I think they flew out to go to Niagara Falls and check it out, and that was something really special that they got to see. And I think it's I always tell any promoter or any racer, like, families first, health is first, work is all comes before racing. And so whenever the Mastrettas, like, it was obviously a bummer for all of us when they didn't run again. But it, there's priorities in life, and racing is, and that event took so much time and effort for them. Yeah. Like they would start planning in November,
right?
And going to motorcycle shows and promoting and cleaning up the grounds, and it's a full year-round thing without any time off, just for that one event. But I'm sure it probably brought in some good money for, to kind of justify the expense. I'm sure some years were better than others, but it was a pretty incredible event.
Do you still talk to the Mastrettas at all, Matt? Or?
I don't. I message them once in a while, just hoping they're doing well. I know they've been going through some stuff health-wise and whatnot, but they're a great family, and they're kind of just doing their thing.
Right.
Kids are all grown up.
There's no house built on the bottom of that sucker yet or anything like that, is there? Like, that's the sad part, like, about the Widowmaker, as you drive by there and there's frickin' houses all over. It's like, until there's a damn bomb shelter house or whatever built there, I'd say there's that 1 in a million chance that maybe that Mastretta's grandson that watched that race maybe someday will want to flip that switch back on or something. That'd be pretty awesome.
I wouldn't be surprised if it came back to some capacity.
Cool.
I mean, I don't, even a 1 year run or something, I don't see it being a forever thing. And if it is, if it's never happens again, we will always cherish those memories. But I wouldn't be surprised if they came back.
That'd be awesome.
But
that'd be really cool.
But I have no talks with them. Maybe other promoters are, but not myself.
No, all good. That was an unbelievable part of my racing career, is just to be able to go there. It was epic, and to see it, and the ocean of people. And it was like, I never got to see the Great American with the Keyway at its glory, but I got to see Pogues Hole damn near at its glory. It's pretty cool, So
Yeah. And the money that those good boys came home with, like that was another thing that I remember handing that envelope to Joseph Alna in the hospital, and it was pretty thick.
Can't
That's
beat
great.
that.
That's the best.
Yeah.
Yep.
So here we are, 2025 Motoclimb season. Already got one under the belt. So we're, not halfway, but technically close with hard enduro. Whereabouts are you there in hard enduro?
Yeah, we're about halfway through hard enduro. We just came back from a big doubleheader in Pennsylvania for rounds 7 and 8, but we have 15 rounds. Okay. And then, or 15 total rounds, 14 points rounds. I'm kind of managing 3 championships in the U.S. Hard Enduro Series. So East, West, and a Premier overall series. So there's 15 total races in that. And then with the Motoclimb Super Series, it's a bit abbreviated this year with the doubleheader at Carnegie. That was rounds 1 and 2. We'll have Brick Mine on July 5th, and July 13th we'll have the Bay City race. And so that'll be the final round this year. Almost pulled the plug back last late summer, early fall. Just kind of didn't know. I get discouraged by the lack of support in the sport. Right. But, some athletes were hoping to see it back. So we're still online. We're just cut back on some media expenses and hoping to see some growth, with that sport, get new athletes in with the pro stock class, and return back to Wisconsin, which we can't wait for.
And you've had a huge impact. I know it can't probably feel like it to you, but you've just had such a big impact on Motoclimb and our sport. And you've done so much, but there's only so much, Matt, that goes around. And nobody would ever blame you for the energy that you've been putting into hard enduro and what you're getting back. There's only so much that goes around. We get that. But that doesn't mean that Motoclimb can't live on a smaller budget and time and energy and still be epic, because the Jelnicks, Mike Bronk, these people that are just as passionate as you are and want this to succeed as much as you did always. And now you got a family to help lift that, right?
Exactly. And they say a rising tide lifts all ships. And so
love that.
And competition exists even away from the racing or from the race side. So, each series sees what they're doing and they're like, oh, how could we, match that or do better? And so I do believe that, our impact is beyond what we've done directly, but it's an indirect impact in helping other promoters, other series raise their standard and hopefully supersede our standard. And so I'm all for the success of American Hillclimb West and East, all for the success of the BMC races and events, and because it's all going to help the athletes. And I don't think that the Motoclimb Super Series is the one answer to this all. I believe it was potentially a match to hopefully light something new and get people kind of exposed to different ideas to get the sport outside the box, because it was in the box for so long. And so that's kind of hopefully what the end result is, that, and me being involved just helps make everyone more successful in some aspect.
On the Motoclimb part of it, you're on an uphill battle, because you were trying to make a nationwide series, but this is a regional sport. We see it in the other series. They don't even have the same rules. Like, it's one series with 2 different sets of rules. It's a regional sport.
You can't even run the same number plate colors.
You can't even run the same number plate. And that's just fine. It's like we're working the kinks out. It's okay. It's like we'll get through it. We all know what we like in our own area. So thank you for giving this other avenue, because I see Josh Muzakis riding the Stark and Carnegie. It's epic. That battle, that side-by-side battle is freaking awesome. It's like it's different opportunities for different types of racing, different types of people. That's what we need.
There's no change if you just stay the same. And so I have been kind of fearless in the sense of, why not throw something at the wall and see what sticks? And if people are mad, then it's either because it was damaging somebody, or it was because they didn't want it to happen, because it wasn't their idea. And so that I I sometimes see people rejecting some of the ideas we put forward pro stock, changing things in Motoclimb as like, as good changes because the certain people are irritated about it. And I know that we hit a sensitive, button. But being involved with US Hard Enduro and so much, I work with people that actually depend on what we do to get salaries. There's probably a couple dozen people that depend on the US Hard Enduro series to exist because of their salaries and their business and, their existence in the sport. And so in Hillclimb, Motoclimb, it doesn't really, it's not like that necessarily, but we'd like it to be where there's like an actual pressure of like, you have to perform, you have to succeed. And, you guys have that to pay off bills, to pay the gas, and to, you put so much time and effort in the bikes, but it's just different when you're getting salaried and your livelihood, your kids are getting fed. Cody Webb is feeding his kids because of YouTube channel, and the YouTube channel, not saying that, okay, that's wrong, but it's like YouTube channel is helping supplement his income. And
that's awesome.
Utilizing US Hard Enduro to use the YouTube channel with. And so,
right.
It's a big economy, or like, compared to hill climbing, but compared to GNC or pro motocross or other disciplines, it's really small still. Right. But Joel, like behind you, that picture of Logan fist bumping Ryan Sipes with that monster logo there. That's a reminder of like, we did have, some impact. We did.
Yeah.
And to this day, Luke Parmiter's edit of Bay City to this day will still give me chills on my, chills on my back.
So good.
The first time I watched it, I had tears in my eyes because it was like so beautifully done that he just had a great mix of honoring the past and bringing the future to you guys. And that was such a gift. That's like one of the best gifts I've ever had promoting is that video. Right.
That's
there.
awesome.
And you just continue. I know that you said you're on a lower part, energy and budget wise, but Logan just got to race with Josh Hill. You're a part, Jay Sahlstrom yourself. Your contributions still have dividends that are paying. There's no doubt in my mind that there's going to be more talented, famous riders that are going to be involved because of what you started and bringing them and getting their involvement. And that's how we get more eyes on our sport, right? These people already have the clicks, the notoriety, the fame, and they're fun to watch. I mean, it's freaking awesome watching Dexter and Josh battle at the Nitro Nationals is epic. It's like that we need more of that.
For sure.
Along those lines, like looking back the last half decade of all your work in Motoclimb, would you consider it, like if it were to end this year or tomorrow, like would you consider all of your work you've done as a success? And then part two, like what's the most proud thing that you've done, in that last half decade for Motoclimb, whether it's an event or getting a person to an event, just something that sticks out to you that you'll kind of carry with you for the rest of the time?
Yeah, good question. I would see it as a success. I was starting to get some closure last year. Like, hey, if this is the last year of this, it's okay. We've made an impact and hopefully set up the sport in a better spot than it was when I got started. I don't think the chapter's closed yet. I still have a lot of things I want to accomplish, but I have to rearrange some of my responsibilities in order to accomplish those. But there's so many opportunities that the sport hasn't explored yet that I'd love to bring to the table, whether it's regarding media or hills. I've walked hills that are possible to make over that can be awesome live stream shows with the top 6 riders in the country. And I've pitched them to Red Bull before, and, it hasn't gotten traction, but the concept's there, the venue's there, and it's all right there. It's timing, it's the right people, it's the right resources with sponsorships. And I just, I think it would be a success, but I think this year we had to kind of just like stop the purging, kind of see where we're at, focus on the local events with Carnegie. We're starting now District 36, which is really good, bringing in new faces and new families into the sport. So, we're really focusing on that more so right now than the national stuff, because it's between the 3 series that we have on 4 series, I guess. It's expensive, and we didn't really want to pull people away necessarily by just adding more events. We wanted to add the right events. And in my opinion, the 3 hills that we got now are just, some of the best. They're not the only ones. There's some great ones out there, but I can tell you that the 3 promoter groups that we have with you guys, the Jelinex and our Carnegie crew, that they're just all stars. They're so good.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's solid.
But what was your second part of the question, Luke?
What part were you like most proud of, if you could pick out whether an event or a person or a moment in the last few years of promoting Motoclimb?
There's a couple cool moments. I think building a relationship with Josh has been really special. Just how good that family is and how down to earth they are, to realize that and to build the trust with them. Every time he hops on my bike or our bike or whatever, I get super nervous and, didn't perform super well in Washington. So that affects me. But that's a really cool thing. The Sipes deal, having Red Bull there, just showed that we did enough to catch their eye and for them to invest in us. So that was really special. And I'll never forget, spending that time with Ryan at your guys' house and like testing at Pater's and stuff. Like, that was such a cool moment because that was the pinnacle that we've hit there. And that was due to the work we've had.
Right.
So those are a couple cool moments. Another one at Alta, it's kind of silly, but having Alta recognize us as a legit sport 10 days before they closed shop, but it was still like they sent a filmer out, they put us on their YouTube. Like, that was a really cool thing. And Mazakas was part of that one too. And, and also to see like the progress that some of the athletes have made with certain brands, to see Logan tied in with Buell as one of their top 3 brand ambassadors. Logan, you are Buell's poster child when it comes to racing. Bill loves you, as he should, as he should. But to see Austin get flown out to Portland to do a Suzuki, shoot, that didn't happen overnight. We decided together to invest in him being Suzuki only back in 2018. And now it's 2025, and the Japanese are like, wait, you're Austin Tyler. And they love Austin. They know of him. They watch his videos, and they're just like starstruck by Austin. And
that's cool.
And so seeing, I think that's probably my most proud thing, is like seeing Logan on Austin be recognized by those 2 brands as worth something. Those are 2 legit brands. And that's really what got us into it. How do the athletes get more than they're getting? And I feel like we accomplished somewhat of that goal, but we're not there yet, the ultimate goal.
Yeah, I just feel like extremely fortunate because we started talking right before the first time that I ever went to Carnegie. Were messaging back and forth. And then when you started Motoclimb, I can't remember if it was before the Motoclimb Super Series first season or after, but I remember vividly I was on a work trip and we had a phone call for a while, and you were telling me to get my ass moving on social media and quit screwing around. And I didn't want to do it, but I'm like, I got to put in an effort and listen. And seeing the growth that I've had over that, and seeing the benefits of doing it and staying on top of it has been huge for me. And it helps give a lot of legitimacy to my race program and to hill climbing in general. And it's a help. I mean, that's what helped get Buell back involved by posting on social media and them seeing it. And then, of course, bringing in all the top athletes that you did and opening up the opportunities for Austin and I through the series have just been like, I'm just so grateful, because it's like I never in a million years thought I'd be able to line up next to Ryan Sipes or Josh Hill or Tyler Berriman or all these guys and have an opportunity to go and race at a hard enduro somewhat promoted by Travis one way or another. Do all this cool stuff, go to France, it was like stuff that we just grew up dreaming of and hoping and praying you'd be able to do someday. So it's been huge. And to like not give out a huge thanks and appreciate what that series has done would be sad. So it's been huge. And the last few years have been a ton of fun, seeing the series grow and seeing the opportunities grow. And hopefully they're nowhere near done yet.
Yeah, I hope not either. It's hard to tell at this point. It's especially with the economy and like KTM changing so much this past year. The state of the sport's very weird, or the industry is interesting. And so I think I was getting my hopes up when we had contingency and moving to stock and stuff. But with the KTM restructure, and we're kind of back a couple steps. But social media is a huge aspect to it. Austin has gotten opportunity or some opportunities, but he also has not gotten opportunities too, because I don't know, like it's irritating because a guy of his following is bigger than most Supercross racers, and his engagement on some of the videos is just insane. Yet he struggles to get paid by companies like where there's Supercross athletes with 20,000 followers getting paid. So that's frustrating based, and it's kind of connected to the root of the problem that we were talking about. But it's also cool that I've helped log hundreds of millions of views on social media for the athletes. Yeah. That's not of me. That's not of the things I've done. It's of you guys. And that's really what makes me happy, is like they're on those platforms bringing tens of millions, hundreds of millions of views with the hashtag Motoclimb, with your guys' name hashtagged on it, all Logan Cipala or Austin Tyler, whoever else. That's pretty special that you guys are at least out there in the ether. And I hope one day it can return some revenue towards you guys' programs. That's the ultimate goal.
Mm-hmm.
I just think it's funny, it feels like longer, but also it feels like shorter. The timeline of the involvement of Motoclimb and yourself, like it's kind of weird for me being old, like how when you say these years and where we are. But I do remember one of the road trips with Logan and the Cipalas, and we had left one of your events, and it was when I was just kind of getting to have met you and seeing what you're doing and just feeding off your energy or whatever. And I remember saying to Logan, I think it was Logan, but I was like, man, Matt's going to promote something spectacular. And I'm like, I don't know if it'll be Hillclimb, but it'll be something. And I still feel like you haven't found like the exact thing, but like, I just feel like how you can get people to work, how you can channel their energy and make these events happen. I think at some point in your life, it's going to be on a level that people haven't seen. And I just feel like you have that in you. Like that's your art. Like some people have their skill. Yours is extrapolating this passion, putting it in front of you and getting the people around it to get more excited than they were about it and push it a little bit farther along. And you're working with, tiny little instruments right now. And I have a feeling that someday you're going to be pushing a big bulldozer, and I'm just proud that like our little part of the world got to be part of your story, and how like you got to see how a little group of people can make a really cool event. And I think it's so neat in America and where we live that someone like you, a young man with motivation and ideas and passion, can just build this stuff and just build it and push it and make it out of ether and just have it stand on its own. And, everything has the success is relative to the person viewing it, right? So like, I think it's been unbelievably successful. I know that you have far loftier goals, but I just think that all of us that have been a part of what you have been doing are extremely proud of you, extremely proud to be a part of it. And we just, like Logan said, we just want to thank you for what you've added to us. And you're not alone, but when I walk in the pits at Carnegie, that's not something I ever remembered seeing. Like it is epic. Like we are a real race force now, and it's due to people like yourself and others demanding that level. It's been pretty epic.
Thank you, Joel. Those kind words. And it kind of, what you were saying about, what I am probably stronger at than not is I I've been reflecting on that the past couple of years because I'm really not an expert in anything. But I think one thing I've come to realize is that I can work with people and I can be pretty good at connecting people. And that's actually one of my passions that I've known about myself for a long time. I love bringing people that aren't supposed to be together, you know, seeing the Frenchies here in Bay City, Wisconsin. I cannot wait for them to hang out at the river eating those cheeseburgers, you know? So that really is my passion, is seeing people come together. The Carnegie people, like a huge driving force of still doing Carnegie is just keeping that community rolling forward. But right now I'm like stressing the fact of like, how do we keep it rolling without me? And right now there's too much liability and pressure on my shoulders right now. So I'm trying to figure out different ways to bring it back to the community aspect, give it to the community. I want to give these things to the community so they can take it and run. Right. So that I'm glad you brought that up, because it's like, I'm kind of a jackass of all trades. I can kind of do things decently in multiple aspects. But with the US Hard Enduro Series, I help fill in with video. I can help on course a little bit. I can, you know, but my goal is to kind of get the right people in the room to work together and not create tension, but to create success. So
love it. Mm-hmm. Love it. Well, dude, I think you nailed it. And I don't know if it was at the epic break that we had or before, but you know, when Joe Dirt told the story, there was multiple volumes. Luke, we calling this MM Volume 1. Is that what we're doing here? Or how's this going to go, Luke?
Yeah, volume 1 of 5, probably.
It's something like that. Yeah. The problem is when are we going to get Matt to have other times to talk to us? You're a very busy person.
No, I make time for you guys. You guys are rad.
All right, cool.
There's some, I don't know. There's some people I wouldn't want to talk this long with, but you guys are.
I'm glad we're good enough.
Yeah,
you guys are great, and I can't thank you all enough for being such great representatives of the sport and the Midwest and your guys' community out there. Luke, the amount of media output, the passion you put into things, the video quality over the years, your vlog series, like all of that stuff has been part of this machine where we're at now. And, you know, helping Logan with his promotion on social, and you promoting yourself, and now doing your graphics to support others, and Joel, you supporting everybody that you surround yourself with, and going to France last year. It takes a village, and you guys are, you know, kind of like, I hold you guys up with the Jelenics as some of the best people in the country. You guys, I love the Ellsworth pocket.
You mean except Luke, though, right?
No, Luke's included. Don't worry. I will say though, I would if I wanted to have all my fingers at the end of the night, I would stick with you guys over them. So.
Yeah, there probably has been a few warning stickers because of a Jelinek, I would imagine.
Yeah. I keep my distance a little bit more away for my safety.
Well, dude, I tell you what, after the Frenchies are here in the States and your travels, maybe if you get a little low, let's touch back middle of the summer, hear more hard enduro. We can do some more deep debates, not so much on you, but extensions, no extensions, all the things that we kind of skirted around tonight. We can get into them deep, okay?
That sounds great. I'd love to dive in on certain topics, and appreciate you guys providing a professional platform. Thank you, Luke, for, you know, putting this together and, you know, recognizing other disciplines. And I told Joel yesterday, I'm going to, you know, definitely recommend some awesome hard enduro stars to be on the show, and
that'd be cool.
And spend some time on here. So it'd be, I'll push some more guests your way, and we'll diversify the offerings that you guys can
Like it.
We'll take them all. We need the clout.
Yeah. Hey, at least you admit it. We all need it, right?
And you also nailed it. This would be a complete S show without Luke. Luke is the reason the show is so professional.
For sure.
Dude freaking crushes it on everything. Logan and I, we can barely stumble our way to get on here, and Luke makes it look perfect every week. It's
Exactly.
I'm trying to mute Joel right now.
All right, let's let Matt get back to doing whatever he was doing before he called us.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna go to bed, probably catch up on sleep on the big weekend
Good.
yourself in Pennsylvania.
Good plan.
All right, well, hey, thanks, Matt. We'll be talking soon.
Thank you, guys. Have a great night, and we'll chat soon.
Come on, mama told me one day I'ma grow up big and I'ma be a king. And my papa told me it's okay to sit when shit hurts. Don't forget your dreams, cause they'll get you through this so-called life.